Finishing up a Shakespeare. How do I love thee? When a custom tailor bet asked her out for something wet, she told him, I get no kick from champagne. He replied, the night is young, the skies are clear. You're delightful, delicious, delightfully. They went for a walk, which turned into a dance. They were dream dancing, and the lights suddenly whispered, kiss me, Katie. The thermometer started to go way up, up, up. It seemed like one of those nights, one of those fabulous nights. This is that long lost love. Is it at all time for simply a lark? Granada or Asbury Park? Friendship, or are you just a silly gigolo? Low, low, low. In Lover's Lane they strayed and he pitched ooh. Tell her let's do it, let's misbehave. And being that a great romancer, you know she was bound to answer, it's too darn hot. Get out of town. Why can't you behave? Sometimes I just hate men, and I don't care if you're a custom tailor vet or a physician. It's the wrong time, the wrong place, the wrong place. From this moment on, just turn me loose, don't fence me in. Like Miss Otis, I'm unable to lunch today. What is this thing called love?
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper's Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? That was Ron Drotos, who's on the show in a few moments, and we're going to talk about that, as well as his upcoming show at Pangea. We have one of the guest stars of that show also joining us today, Dorian Woodruff. I'm so excited about today's show because I get to celebrate and sit down with 5 artists that I absolutely admire, and I'm looking forward to what they're bringing to the table. I begin all of my shows by asking who or what are you celebrating today, because I do believe that when we take the time to do so, there's a lot to celebrate only when we take the time to do so. And I'm going to begin by asking Ron that very question. Who or what are you celebrating today?
Well, hi, Richard. Thanks for having me and us here today. I'm actually celebrating you doing this because I think this is unbelievable, and your perseverance and enthusiasm has made such a difference to the cabaret community. And
well, that means a lot that you say that. You know, I believe, first of all, I love to be in the spotlight. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to be in the spotlight, but nothing excites me as much as sitting in an audience, watching a great cabaret show unfold. You know, some places that I go because of this and my newsletter, I'm invited as press to see a show, and I refuse to look at a song list before the show because I just want to be totally, absolutely surprised at what I'm going to see. Now, you have a show coming up that I want to get to right away. You're going to be at Pangea, and you brought 3 incredible friends along. I love Lena, Dorian, and Juliet. So tell us about this show and what audiences can expect by seeing you and your friends on this evening.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for playing that clip. That was Christy Bai. She's a former Nashville session singer who now lives in Connecticut. And that was a mashup I wrote of Cole Porter lyrics called What Is This Thing Called Cole? And I made a story song using 29 of his songs referenced in there. And if anybody does want to sing that, just send me an email through my website, rondrotos.com, and I'll send you the sheet music. Pangea, I had the idea last December. I did a show called Ron Drotos and Friends at Urban Stages. Sue Matsuki produced it. Mm-hmm. I know she's been on your show. And I got the idea of including other people, not just doing a solo show, and using it as a way to build community and perform with people that I just love performing with, and sharing that. And again, creating community and having fun. So this will be the second one of the series, and it will be at Pangea on Friday, April 24th at 7 p.m. It's already sold out, luckily for us, but it means you'll have to, anybody who isn't going to be there, you'll see another one coming up, hopefully soon. And I'm going to alternate some piano solos, and I'll serve as the host. So I'll play a piano feature and then bring Juliette Ewing out to do a mini set of 3 songs in her unique style.
Oh, just love her.
Another piano piece, and then Dorian, who I adore and can't wait to see what he has to say today. And then I'll play another piano piece and then bring Lena out, who hasn't been performing so much in recent years. So
unfortunately,
I pulled her, I reeled her in to do this. And we work together a lot in her role as a director.
She was my very first director in cabaret, by the way. So Ron, when you're putting an evening like this together, are we going to hear all original music and arrangements, or are we hearing some standards as well?
Oh, mostly standards. Like I said, my piano solos are going to be sort of featured throughout, here and there, and the singers are going to do mini sets. Mm-hmm. And I sort of left it up to them as to what they want to do. A lot of them will be either my arrangements, or we certainly have rehearsed and I've shaped it. So I think my fingerprints are on the whole show, and I've sort of sculpted it and shaped the arc. But I do want to celebrate, to use your word, these artists, and let them do what they really do and can deliver the kind of performance that they like to do as well. So it's a real collaboration.
So Ron, where did that spark begin for you as a kid? I mean, did you take piano lessons all the time, or was it something that you wanted to do? Was this something that your parents encouraged? How did it all start for you?
I was always involved with music because my father had been a saxophone clarinetist outside of Pittsburgh in the very late 1950s as a teen, and he was a semi-professional as a teenager. It was the swing era rock and roll transition. And so we had sheet music around, these combo charts from the 50s, and you'd see In the Mood and then Rock Around the Clock right in the same pile. It's kind of a unique time in US history. So music was always around. I didn't really take piano lessons per se. I played trumpet in school. I played some guitar. I taught myself how to read music out of a piano book that my dad got me, a series. But I didn't take piano lessons until I was 15, and then I made up for it with lots of lessons. I studied with the great jazz pianist Billy Taylor in my teen years through early 20s. I went to the University of Connecticut, got a classical composition degree with a wonderful composer named Hale Smith, who was also a jazz pianist and friends with Dizzy Gillespie and that generation. And I remember, as in terms of working with vocalists, I took some workshops at University of Massachusetts in the summer in mid-'80s. It was a Jazz in July program with Billy Taylor, and I played in a combo with some of Sheila Jordan's students.
Oh,
wow. She's passed away.
Yeah.
And we got to know each other. And even at age 18, I remember driving her to this pizza party once off campus. And she said, Ron, now I couldn't really play fast. I couldn't play bebop and all that yet, all the jazz stuff. But she said, she paid me a really nice compliment, which gave me confidence. She said, Ron, you play ballads with vocalists with the maturity of a 60-year-old. I was 18. Wow. And coming from Sheila Jordan, that gave me a lot of confidence. So I moved to New York in '89 and got very lucky. 4 years later, I was assisting Barry Levitt on the Broadway show Swing on the Star. Got my name on the poster as associate music director and additional orchestrations and arrangements. Wow. Worked with Peter Howard, who you probably knew.
Yes, and Barry was also one of my musical directors. I was with Barry the night that he passed away. Oh, very bizarre. We'll talk about that at another time. Yeah. But I was there with him when it happened. So,
wonderful man. Who believed in me, really believed in me.
Well, speaking of wonderful men, I want to talk about another favorite cabaret entertainer. And he's going to be in my neighborhood next Friday night. I'm going to be there. I already have my reservations and tickets. And I just want to give a glimpse of him in action. And then we'll bring him on at the other side of this. Here he is.
Now winter is falling upon me, taking the sun from my view. winds are blowing, in my heart it's snowing. But all this reminds me to trust that you'll find me, 'cause nature is always in bloom, and I have the promise of you.
One of the hardest working men in show business, and he took the time to say yes to me. So, Marcus, welcome to the show.
I don't think there's another word to use in your presence. It's always yes. You're wonderful. You spread love and joy. Who doesn't want to be around that?
I try doing that. So let's talk about, I mean, you're having an incredible time right now. You have an amazing girlfriend. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I do.
I'm in love with her.
Hey, stay on your side of the internet.
Yes, I'll stay on my side of in my lane. But you also, in addition to singing, you write your own material. You were nominated for a MAC Award this year. You know, it's so difficult when it doesn't always go in your direction. But in my opinion, it went in your direction because you were nominated. It was a great night, and it's a great song.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is a very exciting time right now. This is all music from a new album that's coming out May 1st. And it's half and half. It's half originals and half standards. The standards are all fresh and new arrangements that I've been working through over the past 5 to 10 years, because while I was running this jazz club up in Harlem, Room 623, for about the past 5 or 6 years, I didn't have time to do much else. And so back in September, went in and recorded over a 3-day session, a boatload of music to play a little catch up. And now we're releasing the first batch of it next month or next week. And we're going to feature a lot of it at the show you just popped the flyer up for at Maureen's. I like to tell people I'm opening for Richard Skipper because you're going on the night before or the night after.
Right, yes.
I know, and you're already sold out.
Yeah.
God bless. I'm not surprised. And so I'll be sharing the stage for this show with a wonderful singer named Melissa Stilianu, who's another wonderful songwriter. And for this show, she's going to actually sing a lot of my songs. I'm going to sing a lot of her songs, and then we're going to meet and duet in the middle. And it's going to be a real beautiful, beautiful evening. And then we'll drop the record in May, and then have a series of shows after that, playing Mesro in July and then 54 Below in September. So it's a very exciting night. Yes, I was really honored to be nominated in the company of so many other wonderful songwriters that night. And Ava, who won, it was wonderful. It was a beautiful song. Yeah. She's an incredible talent. Everyone deserved to be there, and it was really a wonderful night.
So, have you been to Maureen's Jazz Cellar before?
I have.
It's such an intimate...
Actually, I drove, last time I was there, I drove Sheila Jordan, who I was lucky enough to get to know towards the last maybe 5 or 6 years in her life. And the stories in the car ride alone were incredible. But and I got to sing there with her that night too. So, but please go on. Yes, you were.
And I just was such a big fan of hers. I still am.
Yeah.
Going back to your childhood as well, did you grow up in a household with music, or when we're...
Did I? Funny you should ask. I grew up alongside a 1928 Iverson Pond upright piano that my mom taught me to play on. It's also the piano that she learned to play on when she was a kid. And every night after dinner, she would call me over and she would say, "Hey, do you know this song? Do you know this song?" And it's music she grew up with. It wasn't, it wasn't a Gypsy Rose. It wasn't like, "You better learn this, you're going to be a star." It was just, come on over and know this music that I grew up with. She was passing on her childhood to me. And that was the music that my grandparents would play around the house, or she was listening in the backseat of the car when they would drive somewhere. And so by the age of 12, I had about, several hundred standards in my head. And there weren't that many people my age who I could be like, "Oh, you know about this song? It's from 1932. And what? No. So that was my childhood. And then I came here to New York as an actor.
From where?
From Buffalo, New York,
Oh,
where I grew up. Say that again?
my husband's from there, Lewiston.
Oh, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Great jazz festival in Lewiston. And so I came here and I worked, pretty regularly. I was very lucky, but there was something missing, and it was the family element for me that I needed to have with me when I went on stage. And now, when I go on stage, I carry my family legacy with me at every note, and that's really what makes it so much more meaningful for me. I had a great time as an actor. I still do shows every now and then, but it feels like I'm got my ancestors on stage with me, and all these memories that I grew up hearing about my mom's childhood and whatnot. So it's
I
extra.
love hearing that. Um, Coming to New York, I mean, I came. Ron came from Pittsburgh. I came from South Carolina. I always say that in an entertainer's career, there's a fork in the road. You're either going to go to New York to pursue a career, or you're going to go to LA. Nowadays, you maybe go to Nashville or somewhere in the middle of the country. But what was it about coming to New York for you? Was it to pursue a career as an actor? And when did the shift really take place for you? Even though you still act, your focus is now on music.
So, as Dr. Seuss, I think was it Seuss or Shel Silverstein, one of them said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. It was sort of the next step. I graduated with a BFA in musical theater from SUNY Fredonia, and everyone around me, from the hometown and whatnot, family, friends. Oh, where are you going? You going to New York? You're going to go to New York. You must be going to New York. You're going to, and so I said, I guess I'm going to New York, and literally duffel bag and a toothbrush, and got here, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this out. And like I was saying before, I auditioned, I got a lot of work, and so that there was something missing. And I remember sitting in my, in my studio here, and I was thinking, is this the life that I want to solely commit to? And it's a young thought, right, that you have to have that single story. And at that time, I was going to I was in rehearsal, or I was doing my shows, and then afterwards I would wind up in the jazz clubs always, and I was always singing, and that was how I was scratching that itch of singing the music that I grew up with. I didn't have an outlet for it otherwise. And then I finally decided, I was going to take the plunge, and I was going to record a demo, and I set out to make an album, but it ended up being only a demo. And then I was in the last 5 years of my grandfather's life, that I was able to, in the last year, actually play this demo for him. And it was the look on his face when he got to hear recorded music that he had, in the genre, and that he had taught, my mom as a kid. And it just really clicked for me that this was what I was meant to do. And like I said, I didn't, completely leave the theater. I mean, like I said, I still have relationships, and I still every now and then, and I'm open to all kinds of projects. And but my focus started to become recording pretty quickly. And then after my first album, which was all standards, then people were like, well, do you write? You must write. Do you write anything? It sounds like you probably write. And I hadn't written anything. And I was like, yeah, of course I write. And so I started writing, or playing at it, like I was like, all right, well, let me figure this out. And I started studying that. And then funnily enough, in the middle of the night, I woke up with a melody and a lyric that was the first song that I wrote and recorded. It was called Take Me. And it was inspired by the love my grandparents had. And it was about just, doesn't matter where I am as long as I'm with you, kind of a concept. And that's really what led me on my path. It made me realize, this is where I'm meant to be.
That's great. Well, I'm going to bring on another guy who is also on his path, probably one of the busiest guys next to you two in cabaret. And next week, he is going to be at 54 Below. I got my tickets today, and I'm very excited. And I'm very excited that he said yes to me. I am your opening act, Nicholas, tonight before you sing for Jane Fonda.
You are? Oh, how wonderful.
Right here. So you are literally between gigs right now. Tonight, you are going to be performing at a private fundraiser for Jane Fonda.
I am, and it's one of those really exciting things that, I've just been nuts about her my whole life, like a lot of people. I mean, falling in love with her art as an actress, and then as the older I got, I learned more about her hard work in activism, and so I've just been nuts about her. So when they asked me to perform at this event, I mean, I don't think the man got the sentence out all the way through. And yes, I'll be there. So I'm in San Francisco now, and I'm very excited. I head over in about an hour and a half or 2 hours or so, and I'm excited.
Are you in Richard's home now? Is that where you are?
I'm in San Francisco right now. I'm not at the venue yet, but I'll be there in a couple of hours. Yeah.
Well, say hello to Richard for me.
Of course.
Great to see you. It's great to see you the other night. We had the great pleasure a week ago tonight of sitting together at Donna McKechnie's amazing show.
Just grabbing each other's arms every time she would do something amazing, like, oh my God, did you see that? I mean, I had more MAC black and blues on my leg from you and from Rich, just being like, oh my God, she's just incredible. I mean, there's no one that does what she does.
Well, Nicholas, I'm putting together a new show that I'll talk about a little later called Life Lessons from Legends. And I bring this up because you have had the pleasure of working with so many legends, and they've had the pleasure of working with you. But next week, you have this new show that's going to be opening. You've already done this show in Palm Springs, 2 sold-out performances at the Purple Room, and you're going to be at 54 Below next week. I was lucky enough to know Mike Rinsey. But for those who don't know Mike Rinsey and what that relationship was that the two of you shared, talk a little bit about that.
Mike Rinsey was a musical director, pianist, one of the legendary ones. When I produced his funeral, actually at Birdland, when he had passed, Bill Charlap, I think, gave him the best compliment when he said, with Mike gone, the rest of us have all just moved up a peg. And I thought that was so profound because Mike was truly at the top of the pyramid. People like Billy Stritch and Ted Firth and Bill Charlap, they all learned from him, and they all credit him with being a major inspiration. He got his start, he was from Rhode Island, and so he went to Boston Conservatory and Berkeley and all that. And then Cy Coleman is the one who gave him really his big break when he moved to New York in 1978. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those fairy tale stories that Cy Coleman called him and said, or he called Cy and said, hey, I moved to New York, I just wanted to touch base. And Cy said, I'm glad you did, because Mel Torme's looking for a piano player for a 3-week run at Marty's, and I'm going to recommend you. Would you be available? And of course, Mike said yes, and Mel fell in love with him, and that was his first big gig in New York, was playing for Torme. And from that, Lena Horne came to see the show, and Lena said, I want you, and grabbed him and made Mike her musical director. Peggy Lee did the same thing. And so for 35, 40 years, he was Mel, Peggy, and Lena's #1 musical director. They made countless records together. They traveled the world together. And subsequently, he went on to play for everybody, from Sinatra to Tony Bennett to Liza Minnelli to Lady Gaga. And oh my gosh, he made records with people like Eartha Kitt and Marie McGovern and Ann Hampton Calloway and Katie Sullivan. I mean, just the list is just endless. And I met him when I was 17 at a pizza place in Newport, Rhode Island. He had just retired from doing 12 years on Sesame Street and won several Emmy Awards for his work on that show. And he had heard me sing earlier that evening. And at the end of the night, at around 3 a.m., he said to me, Nicholas, if you ever need someone to play for you, I'll play for you. And so I called his bluff. About a month later, I had a little gig at a restaurant playing background music for 4 hours, 7 to 11. And I called him. I said, Mike, I've got this gig. I don't know if you want to play with me. It's at this little restaurant. We play from 7 to 11. We don't get food, but we get drink tickets. And I'm only 17, so you can have mine. And it pays $125, and you got to bring your own keyboard. And he said, perfect. I'll be there at 6. And he showed up that night, and he showed up for me every night for 14 years. He was my right-hand man, my confidant, my best friend, my mentor, and my inspiration. And we worked together. I mean, truly hundreds and hundreds of concerts together. We made 3 albums together. We traveled the hemisphere together. And so he was just such a big force in my life.
What did he instill in you feel you still carry through with every performance that you do?
Striving for excellence. If you can't get perfection, strive for the next best thing. Mm-hmm. His email address was no bad chords And his mantra in life was no bad chords. And I think it had a double meaning for him, not only musically, but also just in life. He never felt the need to settle for something less. Why settle for a C chord when you can do a C with an augmented this and that on top of it and make it better? And that was always his way of looking at things to make things better and to bring something unique and new to everything that he did. And that's what I still kind of do. You know, I'm not interested in singing. If I have to sing Come Fly With Me one more time, I'd rather eat glass. You know, I'm just sick of that sort of stuff. So if I'm going to sing something that has been done a million times, how can I find a new point of view? How can I find a new way to make an arrangement exciting so that people actually sit up and listen to it and make people want to actually listen to what I have to say? And I think Mike has really instilled that in me. I always kind of already had that, but Mike really made that really apparent to me that was something that I could do and should do, would be to find new and unique ways of approaching things. You know?
Well, you've also had the great pleasure of working with so many great top-notch musical directors. So when you're putting a show together, such as this one, and I'm sure that your musical director has a lot of input in the collaborative process. What is it about the collaborative process that really feeds your soul?
Well, you get a different perspective, you know, and you're surrounded by people. Hopefully, if you're smart, you surround yourself with people who are better than you, and who know more than you. And I think that's the key: is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because they bring something new to the table. I remember when I was really little, Liza Minnelli always said to me, "Don't ever be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room." Oh. And I always kept that, you know, because she always surrounded herself with people that were smarter than her in many facets. And I feel like I try to do the same thing. So when I'm working with Billy Stritch or with Ted Firth or John Weber or someone who I think is brilliant, you know, I come, of course, with a million ideas and I go, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. And they'll suggest something really small or really tiny, but it just adds such a thing to it. And it just makes it 10 times better. And I'm so grateful for the chance to collaborate with these great minds, because it propels me. It makes me, I think, a better artist and brings me to newer heights. You know?
So who's playing for you tonight?
Well, tonight I'm breaking my rule. I'm singing with tracks. And the reason being is because they don't have a piano in this venue, so I have to do it with tracks. But I've got beautiful orchestral tracks that I've accumulated over the years. Like Marcus, you know, I've made tons of records, and I've got so many of these beautiful band tracks. So it's like I don't feel like I'm sort of, you know, cheating because I'm not singing with, you know, a MIDI computer sort of thing. I've got, you know, full band orchestral tracks behind me, so it feels like.
And are you doing a full show tonight, or are you doing, you know, a shorter version leading up to Jane Fonda?
No, tonight's just
all of a sudden.
I know, I see that. No, tonight's just it's a small. I'm doing 4 songs, 4 songs in and out. But I'm so excited to sing. And I decided to do. I'm opening up with Teach Me Tonight. I'm doing her favorite song, On the Sunny Side of the Street, and then 2 songs I think are important. I'm doing Children Will Listen, because I think it's an important song, especially in today's day and age when truth is something that is so elusive. And I know that she's a big supporter of truth and the impact that our words have on others. And I'm going to close with What a Wonderful World, a beautiful arrangement I did with Norman Lewis on my last record, because we're fighting for you know, better choices and change when it comes to our climate and on this planet. And so, you know, it's always so hard when you're singing for someone like that, because God, what do they want to hear? They probably heard everything. You know, how do you do something? You know, and I don't want to get up and sing, you know, Mac the Knife or something ridiculous. I want to do something that's important and means something. And so I labored over the set list.
I can only imagine. If you get the moment, just tell her. I mean, she has truly been one of my favorites my whole life. And not only the work that she does on film, but the work that she does for all of us. So tell her that Richard Skipper says thank you. That's all you need to say.
I mean, she's just incredible. I mean, when I first saw Barefoot in the Park, I had to be like 12, and I couldn't stop staring at her. You know, I know everyone else was, you know, watching Robert Redford, but I couldn't take my eyes off of her, because she just had this hunger, this you know, this stuff inside of her. So as an actress, I'm nuts about it. And I have this feeling that I have this fear, rather, that tonight I'm just going to be, you know, but hopefully I won't do that.
Well, I'm sure you won't. Well, I'm going to bring on, some female energy today to this show. And here she is, and we'll talk about her show on the other side. Gerrilyn Sohn.
I'm just a Broadway baby, walking off my tired feet, pounding 42nd Street to be in a show. Broadway baby, learning how to sing and dance. Wait for that one big chance to be in a show. Gee, I'd like to be on some marquee. Oh, twinkling lights a spark to pierce the dark from Battery Park to Washington Heights. Someday, baby, all my dreams will be repaid. Heck, I'd even play the maid to be in a show. Mr. Producer, I'm talking to you, sir. I don't need a lot, only what I got. Just a tube of grease paint and a
And here she is. She is going to, well, let me bring this up again. I don't even know why I'm showing this because she is sold out. Are all 3 shows sold out?
The first 2 shows are sold out. There's still tickets for May 11th.
Congratulations.
Thank
and,
you.
And I'm hoping to get there for the 3rd
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
I love her, but why a show about Bernadette Peters? What is it about Bernadette Peters that resonates so deeply with you?
I've always loved her. I had picked up a VHS of Sunday in the Park with George, and I watched it over and over. And then a few years later, I moved to New York, and my boyfriend at the time was best friends with her husband. So I did get to spend some time with her. So I have some personal stories too.
That's great. So as I asked, the other guest on the show today, when, where, and how did the spark happen for you? Did you grow up in a musical household?
No, they weren't. My parents weren't musical, but they loved musicals. So I started when I was 6 or 7. They were watching Porgy and Bess on TV with Sidney Poitier and Dorothy Dandridge and Sammy Davis Jr. And it only aired once. I think the Gershwin estate didn't like the movie and they had all the copies destroyed.
That's right.
But I was glued to it. It was past my bedtime and my parents were like, this is weird. Okay, we have the album if you want to listen to it. So I listened to it over and over again. And then I went to the next Broadway show and that's how I started.
And did you start with the hairbrush in the bedroom singing?
No, I didn't.
So when did you discover that you had this voice?
Probably around when I was in high school. I was also very shy, so I would try out for musicals, but I was painfully shy. So I would say college, I sort of came out of my shell, and that's when it really happened.
When you were auditioning for these shows, even though you were shy,
Yeah,
did you get cast in any of these shows?
I did. It's second tree to the left. Yeah.
So how did you discover the world of
And I
cabaret?
did community theater, and then,
And are you originally from New York, or what
I'm
brought
from
you?
Connecticut, Hartford area.
Not that far away. But when
Yeah.
you came to New York, did you come to New York to pursue a career as an actress, as a singer?
I did. I had auditioned for Hair when I was still in Connecticut, and I got cast in the European tour under James Rado, and I did that for 6 months. And then I moved here, and then I tried it for about 6 months, ran out of money, and just said, okay, I need to find a survival job. But then I discovered cabaret several years later. I just Googled cabaret classes, and I found the Singers Forum.
Oh, I remember the Singers
started.
Forum.
Oh, wow.
You know, so when you said that you Googled cabaret, had you already been exposed to the world of cabaret?
I hadn't. I don't know where I'd heard the word cabaret. I'm not quite sure. But when I first moved to New York, I did take musical performing classes for Broadway, but it was I did a class where I did a show at Don't Tell Mamas. It was probably about 25, 26 years ago, maybe longer. And I remember seeing a postcard of you, Richard, doing Carol Channing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So, you took these classes at the Singers Forum.
Yeah.
Do they encourage you to get out there and start doing the work itself, or do they want you to finish the courses? Some schools are very protective before they say go out and fly. What was your experience?
At the Singers Forum, it was just like these 3 set showcases. Some people did solo shows, but it took me a while before I did my first solo show.
Wow.
I really wasn't aware of open mics. I didn't really do any of that.
So how did you find your audience when you first started? Or how did they find you?
I started going to open mics, going to people's shows.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a lot of shows. I just like supporting everybody.
Wow. And how did you put your first team together? Because, I mean, from the moment that you basically hit the stages of cabaret, correct me if I'm wrong, a buzz started circulating about you.
Thank you.
You started building up an audience very fast.
Yeah, I found my team. My first team was from the Singers Forum. I worked with Gretchen. She was my first director, and David Gaines. And it was also meeting the right people at the right time. Certain people were at open mics, and it just sort of snowballed.
How long has it been since you did your first cabaret show?
2018.
Wow. And as time has evolved, especially we've been through COVID and so many things, what has changed about the world of cabaret for you that you have embraced? And what are things that were in place when you first began that may not be in place now that you miss?
I think there's always been a really strong community and a lot of support. I love going to people's shows. It's just, it's a great community. I don't really feel like anything is missing from when I first started.
Okay. Well, so how long has it been since your last show? And even though you had this connection with Bernadette Peters, what was that light bulb moment when you said, this is my next show?
Well, it's been 3 years since my last show. But I wanted to do that as my debut show. But I was told, you really need to talk about yourself. And it's true. People need to know who you are in the debut show. And I was going to do it as the second show, but then I just came up with the Joe Allen's idea. So I'm finally getting around to doing the Bernadette Peters show that I've been wanting to do for years.
And are you on her radar?
I haven't reached out to her. I mean, she does know who I am. I haven't had the nerve, but I probably should, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should. What would that experience be like? I mean, you mentioned Carol Channing. I had the great pleasure of having Carol Channing in the audience many times. And the first time, funny story I'll share with you later. But I mean, it's daunting and scary and exciting all at the same time. this is, I'll show you this if you can all see this. That was the first time that Carol came to see me before. But what would that experience be like for you?
That would be exciting.
And well, I'll share something else that would be exciting, and that would be to have this man who's waiting patiently in the wings, waiting in the audience. So, Dorian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
On anything that we talked about here, or you can take us in a completely different direction.
Well, listening to everyone, it's wonderful to learn some new things that I don't know about people, and also to meet Marcus, because we just connected on Facebook, and I didn't know Marcus, but I have downloaded everything that I could find.
That was you?
Yeah, and I can say that on the one album, Old Cape Cod, love that tune. And right after it, the next track is No Moon at All, which is one of my favorites. And I have this thing when I'm listening to people that I'm not seeing, I'm just listening. If I can hear the storytelling and I have a movie going in my head, then it's good. And I had the whole movie going in my head on every bit of that.
That's great.
And it's the same with Nikki. When I saw his Mel Torme show that he did with Billy Stritch, and he and Billy just changed every molecule in the room, and especially on the Mike Renzi arrangement that you do note for note that Mel did. It's just brilliant, I mean, I have tried to do that and not successful, so kudos. Yeah.
Julian, as I've asked everyone else, I mean, did you grow up here in New York, or from where?
My mother's side of the family was here in New York. My father's side of the family is Northern England.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother's side of the family, my mother's Jewish, my father's not. So growing up with a Jewish mother and a Gentile father who's Church of England, very staunch, strict, then I came along and just, threw everything out of whack, But, my father's side of the family, no music whatsoever. Just, my mom's side of the family, my mother was a classical organ major in college. And she also taught me to play accordion, which I've never done in public. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, was in the Ziegfeld Follies. And then I had my great Aunt Rachel was in the Metropolitan Opera. So grew up all around music, and there were 3 pianos in our house. There was this big giant black thing that was in what was called the parlor that we were not allowed to go in, only for special occasions. And then there was another grand that was in another part of the house that needed some love. And then there was a tinny old upright in the den. And when I would come home from school, my grandmother would be playing stride piano on that. Things like, Yes, Sir, That's My Baby. And then she would sing Only a Bird in a Gilded Cage, and If I Were the Only Girl in the World and You Were the Only Boy. So I grew up around those tunes.
Mm-hmm.
And,
when did you begin to discover that you had your own voice?
When I sang for a talent show in first grade, and my grandmother said, well, you're going to sing Cole Porter. I went, okay. And she taught me Love for Sale.
How old were you?
I was first grade. I was 5 or 6. Yeah.
Suki told a great story that when she was 8 years old, she was singing Love for Sale, not realizing what the song is about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the next day after the talent show, we got called into the principal's office, and her name was Mrs. Anna Marie Brody. I don't know why I remember that name. And she said, his song, while good, was inappropriate. And my grandmother stopped her and said, it was art it was good, and it was Cole Porter. And not another word was said.
I love her already.
Yeah, she was my champion. Yeah.
How did
So,
you discover the world of cabaret?
well, for years, I was on the, growing up partly here and partly in England and back and forth, I was on the periphery of cabaret for a number of years because I was working in as a studio musician, as a backing vocalist and as a piano player. And so I would go to clubs and I would see folks and, so just sort of staying on the edge of it. And it wasn't until I met Rick Jensen in 1995 that I started getting a little involved, and then I moved away. I moved to Vegas for a while, because I worked for Liberace for a while. And then I was in Nashville for 15 years and as a session player and session singer. And then moved back here. Been 15 years since I moved back here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
did you and Ron meet? I mean, as I mentioned earlier.
Ron and I met. Lena Koutrakis
Yep.
introduced us and brought us together. Yeah.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, and Ron just played my CD release shows at Chelsea Table and Stage, where 8 of the tunes are Alan and Marilyn Bergman lyrics, Ted Firth plays on some. Well, he plays on 7 of those, and Sean Harkness plays on 2 of them. Mike Renzi plays on the last tune on the album, which is Something to Live For, which is just a gorgeous tune, And, I recorded that with Mike in Rhode Island at Steve Rizzo's studio, and I can't remember the name of that studio. Nick, you probably remember the name of it. Because it was in a horse barn. It was in a stable.
Yes, it's called Stable Sound Studios.
Yeah. And I think it just got torn down because the property got sold or something. And I don't know. Anyway, yeah. But we recorded that. I was the last person to record with him on that whole weekend. And the way it was set up, there was a little bleed with the vocal and the piano, and we didn't think we were going to get to use it. Wow. But Nick Chinbukas with the studio here out in Long Island City worked his magic and was able to clean up those bleeds and got it as the last tune on the album. So I was very, very thankful for that. And also he was thankful that I got to, sing a Bergman lyric that I think has only been recorded twice, once by Barbara herself and once by Sandra Dudley, who's a jazz vocalist. And it's called Mozart in the Dark. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful tune. Yeah. So
is your album available on Amazon?
It is. It's on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, and according to the person that's helping me with all this, 257 other streaming platforms. I didn't know there were that many. I was like, okay.
Has there been a moment where somebody has reached out to you who is, from somewhere else in the world to compliment you on the work that you do?
Yes. And how he got my email, I don't know. Some guy from Ukraine.
Wow.
Reached out, and sent me this lovely, lovely email and how he and his wife were enjoying the album. So you never know where it's going to go.
That's absolutely true. And you never know how you're affecting someone else when you are in the recording studio, recording something. I do believe that music is the universal healer. I've always said that if everybody began every day with a show tune, there'd be no angst or violence in the world. I truly believe that.
Depends on the show tune.
It depends on the show tune. There are a lot of angst show tunes out there, let's face that. So, Dorian, what is your go-to music when you just want to, besides Marcus, of course, when you just want
Well,
to escape into a song?
Any and all thing Bergman's. It just, because when you break down their lyrics and you listen to their lyrics, it's actually a giant therapy session. And it just gels in a way in your soul that most things don't. And so it's anything Bergman.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go around. I want to ask each of you a question. As I mentioned, I'm putting together a show called Life Lessons from Legends. I want to ask each of you, what was the one life lesson that you've learned in this business? We've touched on this with Nicholas and Mike, but something that has touched your soul that you still carry through with the work that you did today. And I'll start with you, Ron.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Excellent question. I think what's coming to me, and combining it with legends, is some of the legends that I've had a chance to know, starting with studying piano with Billy Taylor, and he had gone back to the 30s. He was Art Tatum's student, and Peter Howard on Broadway, who was legendary dance arranger, who was such a support to me when I really didn't know anything. I mean, I was in my early 30s, went from playing high school musicals to Broadway straight. I didn't do regional or anything, and he took me under his wing. These people were so kind and encouraging and supportive. I still remember my second or third day rehearsing Swinging on a Star. We're just creating this. It was Johnny Burke's lyrics, his widow. Mm-hmm. So Misty, here's that rainy day, polka dots and moonbeams, Swinging on a Star. And I was playing the dance, one of Peter's dance arrangements. Actually, it was a dance arrangement I did. I got to do one of the dance arrangements for the show. And I had a little walking bass line. And Peter wasn't a straight ahead jazz pianist. He was a ragtime jazz pianist and everything else. Mm-hmm. But I'm playing this little walking bass thing, and Peter's right behind me going, "Go, man, go, man, go." I felt like I was back in a New Yorker cartoon from the 40s or something. But these legends who didn't have to be nice to somebody young and who didn't know anything and was just wide-eyed and in awe of them, they went above and beyond on my behalf. So I think that's influenced how I relate to others.
That's great. Marcus, same question.
There are two legends that I've had the honor of knowing and working with, and they both passed away. And I don't know if they're legends to the world, but they're legends to me. And the first I met when I first pretty much got started here in New York and was working a lot in theater. I started working with a wonderful coach and singer and songwriter and piano player, and his name is Stephen Lutvak. And some of you probably, yeah, of course, yeah. So Steve was had no reason to be as generous and supportive and tough as nails, but to invest in the time in the way that he did whenever I went over to work with him and beyond, and what he would do and going just the extra mile. He reset the bar for me in ways I wasn't prepared for. And when I first was working with him was as a performer. And so, not only did he, I brought in my book and he said, well, that's okay. And by the time and I brought in lots of, anyway, but he led with his heart, and as big as his heart was, as high a standard he set, and was, because he cared so much about what he did, and he was so giving and so generous. And then I took a pause after I started recording, and I wasn't doing as much theater and auditioning, but then I went back to work with him as a songwriter. And that's when he again reset the bar after I kind of initially started writing, and he taught me so much using the Bergman lyrics a lot, actually. And so he taught me so much about truth, honesty, authenticity, constantly pushing me. He taught me not to get lazy. He said, he would point out places in songs. He's like, I see where you just gave up. he said this wasn't a stumbling block. You just, he would talk about how there's no such thing as writer's block. You're just lazy. You're just not, you're giving up, saying, oh, that's enough. And so he, to me, was a true legend, and I carry him with me, everywhere. And then the second legend, to me, was Danny Backer. Was my dear friend. Nick, you knew him as well, and many of you did too. And but I learned so much from him, on stage and off, and his perspective and the way he approached his craft. And I've learned so many pearls from him, and how he, would interact with the audience right off the bat. Like as soon as we get on stage together, which I was lucky enough to do a lot with him, a lot at the Friars Club, but and other shows too. And I just, the joy that he brought into people's lives when he didn't have to. It's something that I just, again, it stuck with me, and it's something I carry with me in every note, in every rehearsal moment and writing session, whatever it is. So those are the two.
Too soon. Oh, wow. I'm teared up thinking about this. Nicholas, same question. I know you touched on Nicholas.
I think I'm sensing a theme here between Ron and Marcus, in terms of generosity, generosity and kindness. Can you hear me okay? I had to switch to the earphones. Okay.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, good. Generosity and kindness, no matter how big some of these people are, and I feel very lucky to have crossed paths and worked with a lot of great people, aside from people like Carol Burnett and like Liza and Hal Prince, and so many great people that I've been able to work with over the years and collaborate with. They all share that generosity of spirit. They're never too busy to take a phone call. When I did my first record, I asked Carol if she would do the liner notes, and she did. When I did my second record, I asked Hal to do the liner notes, and he did. They come to the shows. They're supportive. They tell their friends about you. They promote you in ways that they can. And I just feel like that's so important, especially in today's day and age. We live in a very me first mentality in this world. And as performers, if we're able to give back, some of that to other people, I think it just goes a long way. Nobody gets anywhere alone. And I've been so lucky to have a lot of helping hands bring me to where I am and where I hope to keep going. And anytime that I have the opportunity to help, someone else, if they need a contact for a gig, hey, I'll share my contact with you. Or, hey, will you come sing a song in my show? I don't have any money, but yes, of course, I'll come and sing in your show. If any little way that I can help someone or connect people, it's something that gives me great joy, because I've learned from the best,
That's a great answer. Wow, I love that. Gerrilyn, same question.
Well, I haven't really worked with legends. I mean, I do have to say that Bernadette was one of the nicest people I've ever met. She's very down to earth. But I think in general, just supporting one another, this is a great community. And I just think it's really special.
That's perfect. Dorian, same question.
Well, there are a few, and as singers, we all understand the importance of having that great person at the piano. And, Ron is one of those that, I can share an idea with, and he, will be honest and say, yeah, not going to work, but, oh, let's take that, let's run with it, So Ron is a legend in that, because he can pull you in and make you think about what your idea is and why it won't work or why it will work. Mike Renzi was that way when I was with him in the studio. The name of the tune? It's not the Pale Moonlight. What's the name of that tune?
Nearness of You.
Nearness of You.
Yes, we were working on that tune. And he said, not your key. Don't ever sing it in this key. He said, we're putting you here. And he said, for this song, E flat, it's your sweet spot. So when someone his stature says, oh, we're doing that, And another one, well, Marilyn May always says, sing it in the right key. Never sing with your eyes closed. And another years ago, I think it was 1997 or 98, before 88's closed, I was sitting there one night with my journal and I'm just writing things, and I would always write lyrics and stuff. And I didn't notice who was sitting next to me, but they were looking over my shoulder. And I was working on the song, Why Did I Choose You? And so I'd written the first line, Why did I choose you? And this hand came over my shoulder and pointed at my journal and said, what did the person say to you before you sang that line?
Wow. Yeah.
And I went, what? What? Yeah. And I was like, and I looked, and the person sitting next to me was Liza. And she said, what did they say? Because that's what you're answering. That's the question you're answering. And I'm like, and at this point, I'd had like 3 or 4 drinks in me. So I was just like, yes, ma'am. And that's when, she sat there, she sat there for, to 10 minutes. And she said, down the center of the page, write your lyrics as full sentences. On this side, you're going to write the question to every sentence. And on this side, write your movie.
Wow.
I was like, oh, and I've never forgotten that. Yeah. And I've never seen her. Oh, I saw her one time. I saw her closing night of 88's, March 31st, 1999. She was there. There's only 2 times I've ever interacted with her. But that lesson that she gave me there, what did they say? Tell me, what did they say? I was like, oh. So, yeah.
That's great. Wow. Well, I learned from all of you. This hour flew for me. We've actually gone over a little bit. But before we end the show, first of all, thank you. Everyone who's watching this, think of this show as a poo-poo platter. And this is just a sampling. Go and see these artists live. There's nothing like the experience. I know a lot of people like to live stream. There's nothing like the experience of being in the room when it happens. I want all of you who are watching the show today and all of you who are on the show to leave a comment on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit the like button if you do indeed like the show, and hit the share button. And what that does is that will raise the analytics of how this shows up in terms of the number of comments that we get. I end all of my shows with the same message, and that is to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I want all of you to go to your Facebook friends list, and the 8th name that pops up, I want you to reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And let that person know the impact that they've made on your life. And by doing so, you're going to make an impact on their life. It's very important that you do so, because none of us are promised tomorrow. Now, I'm going to give each and every one of you a chance to have your final word. It could be about anything we spoke about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave everyone with today. When you finish, you will pick the next person, and so on and so on. And when the last person says goodbye, I will end the show so you don't have to worry about how do I get out of here. So I have a dear friend, Sean Moniger, and he says we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to turn over to you, Nicholas. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. Go out and see a live show, everyone. Goodbye.
Oh my gosh, no pressure being the first one. Well, just thank you. Thank you, Richard, for being so supportive. And thank you all you guys for being on the broadcast today. I think you're all so talented, and I love getting the chance to watch you perform. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity that we all have to make people happy and to make music. And just keep supporting live music, keep supporting live performers, and keep supporting our fellow performers, and leading with love and truth, because that's the only thing that we've got. And on that, I will, Gerrilyn, I want to end it with, I want to go next to Gerrilyn.
Thanks, Nicholas. I just want to thank Richard for this platform. I think it's really great that he's been continuing this, and all of you, so talented. And just keep supporting live music. And I'm going to pass it to Dorian.
Yeah. Always live music. Because you get that special connection when you are sitting in the audience and you're looking into the eyes of the person singing that song. There's nothing like it. So always keep making live music. So I'm going to pass it to Ron.
Thank you. Coming into this podcast, and I knew 2 others, and I didn't know 3 of the other participants. And it's been wonderful to see everybody sort of come together as a mini community for this hour. Really feel a connection with everybody. Some of the stories were very similar. I think everybody's story was very similar in some ways. And you can really feel the specialness of the cabaret community in microcosm through the 6 of us here today, including Richard, of course. And I want to thank everybody for that. And also for everybody who's watching this, keep following your passions, your dreams, and just keep doing it and enjoying the journey and the process. Thank you. And let's see, I will pick, Marcus.
Oh, wow. Totally surprised. I wasn't sure. Gosh, every time I'm in the space of Richard Skipper, I always leave feeling better about life. I'm in a better mood. The people you assemble, the energy that you corral. So thank you for including me in this time. I feel like there should be, I'm so glad we had this time together. I'm deeply grateful. And my message, I suppose, that I want to offer here is that we are all we're in this together. And there are times that you can feel very alone, whether you're an artist or pursuing another passion. But there's always someone that cares about you, that is going to be there for you to pick up the phone. Community is always just around the corner. And if you feel like you can't get through, that's when I'll say definitely go see a live show. And music will be there for you as well. So thank you and have a beautiful rest of your day. Keep in touch with Richard Skipper and follow everything he does. I will do my best to do the same. Have a beautiful night.